Hey, I guess. What's up? It's Brandon Donlon. You may recognize me from the 2 episodes of Survivor 45 that ScreenRant.com deemed off to a slow start. And you're also just as shocked to see me here as I am to be here. And listen, we're going to talk about Survivor. The whole podcast is about Survivor, but just for a second, please, let's just talk like the elephant in the room, right? I guess the peacock in the room, if you will. Oh my God, Rob Cesternino is on the Traitors. I originally in my head, when thinking about making this intro video, wanted to say there's nobody who's done more for this community than Rob, but there is no community without Rob. I listened to these podcasts for the first time when I'm 13, and I've, have spent years and years going to his events, meeting all of you, being tapped in this online world that he created. There's nobody in the world that deserves to go out, have another televised adventure, meet some crazy people, probably meet an old British guy. There's always an old British guy on the show. He's going to have so much fun, and I am so beyond happy for him. It did present us on the Rob as a Podcast team with a dilemma, as we have to fill this offseason before Big Brother, and I am beyond honored to be selected to do this. Really, like, if you know me, this is so much fun for me. But this is the Survivor 50 files. And pretty much this is like, you know how they elected the Pope, and then the news was talking to like the Pope's cousin or the Pope's third grade teacher? That's what this is we're going to talk to somebody who knows the person playing on Survivor 50 well. They've played Survivor with them. Sometimes they played a different game with them, maybe multiple different games with them. Who knows? We are going to have so much fun. My ask for you, the listeners, is to please give me feedback. I need your feedback. This is the first time I've done anything like this. I'm, again, beyond honored that Rob would select me to do this while he's gone, and I want him to come back to a product that he is proud of. I want to make him proud. So I need your help to do that. I want to make this not only good, but so much fun. This is Survivor's supposed to be fun, right? Shout out to Keith now. RIP. This is, oh my God, we're off to a great start. Ethan Zohn is our first guest. I love Ethan Zohn. I know you love Ethan Zohn. Ethan Zohn is going to talk to us about Jenna Lewis. I'm so excited. So let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? Brandon Donlon here, bringing you the first ever episode of the Survivor 50 Files. We're here every day for the next couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about one of the Survivor 50 contestants with somebody who knows them pretty well, knows them, has played with them, has spent time on and off Survivor with them. And with me to join us for our first episode, one of my all-time favorite Survivor contestants, a survivor in many ways, an amazing racer, a guy you all know, love. It's Ethan Zohn. Ethan, how are you?
What's up? How you doing? I'm doing great. Good to be here.
This is so much fun for me, Ethan Zohn. I can't tell you. This is when we had the idea to do this. I was looking through the Jenna Lewis Rolodex, and it's you.
Boy.
It's you're the guy. So I'm curious to hear.
I used to have a thing for Jennas, I guess.
Sure, many. At least two. But I would love to talk to you, Ethan. Just firstly, how are you? It's been a minute since you've been on Rob as a Podcast. Tell us what the life update is, what you're up to, what's going on.
I mean, things are good. I'm calling in from Fiji. No, I'm joking. I'm not in Fiji. I'm in Florida. So my wife and we got a little place in Florida. We also got a place in the middle of the woods in New Hampshire. And yeah, things are good. I'm just doing the grassroots soccer thing, doing a little public speaking. I'm doing some like Survivor team building events. So it's just things are great, smooth, fluid. It's awesome.
Listen, I wish you were in Fiji. A lot of people I've been seeing the online streets, Ethan, they wish you were in Fiji. Tell us about like Survivor 50.
Yeah.
I don't know how much foresight you have 20 years ago, 2002, you win. Like, did you think we were getting to 50? Where did you think the life expectancy of Survivor was going? Did you think we were cutting it?
I mean, I thought it was going to end after I won. That's what they were telling me, right? Let's finish at the top. Let's retire. Let's not jump the shark. That's what Probst told me. But no one ever thought that Survivor would still be alive today. I mean, from my perspective, way back in the day, 2002, when I was on the show, everyone was like, what is reality TV? There's no way it's going to last. And look where we are today, and especially, and more specifically, Survivor. I mean, I don't know the stats, I'm sure you do, but I think it's probably one of the longest running reality competition shows of all time. It has to be.
Oh, for sure. You know, we're not only running, but like we have now like a whole new fan base. You know, like the COVID, did obviously quite a bit of harm, but you have all these people rediscovering the show. You know, I don't know how much on TikTok you are, but you go on my TikTok and there are people who are just filming themselves reacting to Survivor from 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So
Wow.
we've breathed new life. And have you, Ethan, taken a break at all from Survivor, or have you watched all the way through?
I definitely watched all the way through. There was a good 2009 to 2012 was a little bit of a blur just because I was going
Sure.
through a health challenge. So I was paying attention, but I wasn't like as into it as I was, before and after cancer. But now, I'm a huge fan now. I would call myself a super fan. And so I enjoy the show. I love watching it. I love I'm in fantasy pools. I'm in high stakes fantasy pools of Survivor. So it's great. I love it.
So, season 50, the cast, I'm not sure how much you've talked about the cast publicly yet, but give me your thoughts as a whole on the group that we got for the 50th anniversary, rather, of the show. Like, what do you think about the makeup of the group?
I mean, I think the makeup of the group is good. I think they clearly were casting for certain archetypes within the Survivor universe. I think they did a decent job kind of plucking people from different seasons, throughout the history of the show. However, I think it's a little bit skewed towards some of these new era players. As we all know, we saw a big jump, and I don't know the numbers. I want to say like early old school Survivor, you missed the middle, and then you kind of got into the 30s. And so some of the choices were a little bit confusing in the sense that I think some of the contestants or characters, they've completed their Survivor story, their Survivor arc. Like, what else are we hoping to get for them as contestants? And so regardless of who they pick, I think it's going to be an epic season. I think the number 50, everyone just built it up to be this like huge, monstrous, incredible, momentous occasion in the history of Survivor, which it could have been and potentially should be. However, I think it's just come down to it's going to be a great season with some interesting characters and probably some new twists and turns. There's an extra couple players with 24. So I think it's going to be exciting. But I think people were hoping for just like a giant mashup of like the ultimate legends of the show coming back for 50 for one last time, but I don't think we're getting that as a fan base.
Well, I've actually thought about you quite a bit as we've gotten
Thank you.
through the casting process. Whereas, it's the spring of 2019 and the Winners at War rumors are flying. We didn't even know it was called Winners at War yet, but we have, a couple completed lists. We think we know. And then when it gets leaked, like you yourself and Amber were
Right.
shocked, everybody. Nobody expected you and Amber to be back. And that I feel like was missing from this time.
Mhm.
Whereas we have, I think Jenna Lewis, who we're going to talk about, is maybe that person, but everybody else who returned is like, okay, that makes sense. And I was hoping for a couple, and they exist. I mean, you played with some of them, these folks from back in the day, who would have come back and have now voiced they would have come back. We were missing that like wow shock factor. Whereas I think what we got was exactly as you said, kind of built up. And everybody's expectations are a little bit higher. And maybe that was our mistake. Maybe we should have tempered just a little bit and been like, it's not going to be exactly what you want. But the feeling and the online sentiment just a couple of years ago when you and Amber were both there was crazy, and I missed that, and I wish we got that this time.
Oh, well, thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, there's always fun to find some surprise players. Like Amber was a shock to me. I mean, I remember, I was on Rob's tribe before, the guy showed up first, and then the girls got off the boat, and I was like, I looked at Rob and like, oh my God, Amber's here too. He's like, yeah. I'm like, well played, buddy. Well played.
So you didn't know you that was your
No, I
first
had
time.
no idea. No, because like as we were going to Fiji, they separated men and women. So like in our mind, oh, it's going to be men versus women, and then we get to that little island at the start of the show, and then we eventually got into our own tribes.
Was it a shock to everybody else that you were there? Because I know that we were all shocked, but had you talked to folks that were there that knew that you were coming?
No, I mean I was friendly with Parvati. So Parvati knew I was going, and coincidentally, Adam Klein, we shared the same manager for public speaking. And so I hadn't talked to him, but I knew that he was probably going to be out there just because we share the same manager. Other than that, listen, I didn't even know there was a pregame. I didn't even know that was part of the new game of Survivor. So back in the day when you got cast, they're like, don't talk to anyone, $5 million contract. You know, if we see you talking or hear anything, you are ruined. You're kicked off the show. So like, oh my God. So then I come back, 15 years later to play 40, and I'm thinking it's the same vibe. And they say, listen, don't talk to anyone. Don't tell anyone you're going. Here are your family release form. So I'm like, okay, I'm playing it safe. I didn't talk to a soul other than Parvati because I knew her. And then we get out there. Little did I know that everyone was talking before the show, right?
Everybody's talking.
And
Well, that surprises me about All-Stars too, because in my perception, like in the All-Star seasons, it's only 80 people total who have played Survivor at that point, and you're seeing each other all the time. So there's no cross-pollination there with people talking to one another. I guess
well,
from
so
your
on
end.
All Stars, I did know we knew who was going, but I didn't strategize or pregame at all. I didn't. Maybe other people did. Obviously, Lex and Tom were going. I had an idea that they were going. I knew Jenna Lewis was going because I was friends with her. I knew Jenna Maraska was going because, yeah, so I knew they were going. I did not know that Amber was going, surprisingly. And then she showed up. And I didn't know Boston Rob was going. I didn't know Rupert was going to be there. I assumed there'd be more winners on Survivor. I guess
Sure.
they would have had
Well, you
at
know what?
least an equal number.
Who's gunning for these winners is our dear friend Jenna Lewis. So I want to talk about, you're watching Survivor season 1 as it's airing, and you're seeing Jenna Lewis. Can you think back? What is your perception of Jenna Lewis at that time before you had gotten to interface in person? What is your perception just seeing her on the screen?
Well, I actually watched Australia before I watched the last episode of Borneo with Richard Hatch. So I hadn't really seen the season. I watched all of Australia, and then that's when I decided, oh, I'm going to apply for this show. So I went back and I watched, Jenna Lewis after watching Australia. And, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to put into perspective now because you just know so much about the show. But when I was watching it back then, I can't necessarily say I had a feeling or an impression of Jenna Lewis. I thought she was like a little bit like sarcastic and snarky. She had a happy attitude. She was good in challenges. She didn't seem to be the most strategic player out there. But listen, that was early days. There wasn't much going on in Survivor. And so I don't think I have a good understanding of really how she played in season 1. That changed obviously coming into All Stars and when I had to actually be on the same tribe with her.
Well, and then in that in-between period too, is you're going to these parties, you're interfacing quite a bit, and it's only about a 3-year span before you're in All-Stars. So what was that Jenna Lewis period like for you guys? You guys are obviously friends at that point. But what is that relationship then going into All-Stars?
So we had a pretty good friendship because we competed in Eco Challenge Fiji together. So this was, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Eco Challenge, go back, check it out. This was Mark Burnett's first foray into reality TV, and it was an epic 10-day adventure race through the jungles of Fiji. And so I was on a celebrity reality team with Tim Beggy from MTV Real World, Adam Larson from Road Rules Real World, and then Jenna Lewis from Survivor. And also Burton Roberts, who was on a team, had not been on Survivor yet, but he was on a team. He was competing in this same Eco Challenge as well. So, I mean, Jenna Lewis is a great teammate. I spent Eco Challenge. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but you train for hours on end in a lot of different disciplines like mountain biking, rock climbing, paddling, all this stuff that you would need to kind of, adventure through Fiji. And so we spent days and days and days on end together as a team. And she's an incredible teammate. She's incredibly tough. She's a really good athlete. We're talking back in the day. I don't know what she's into these days. However, I was incredibly impressed with her as a teammate. And she never quit. She never let down. She was always supportive. She would take your pack and wait if you needed to. She'd give you her food if you needed to. So I really enjoyed racing as a teammate with Jenna Lewis during Eco Challenge. So that was a really good experience.
Tell me the format of that show, because I'm unsure of how that works. So you're racing every day, and then you're camping where you race. It's a full essential.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is 80 teams of 4 players show up at a start line. Mark Bernett gives you a map and you have a compass, and he says, first person to get from point A to point B wins. You have 10 days to do it. Go for it. And that's the race. And you have to hit certain checkpoints throughout the way. So you might get to a checkpoint and the next is whitewater rafting. Then you get to another checkpoint and you actually have to build a raft of bamboo to get down a river. Then you got to mountain bike a couple hundred miles. Then you got to hike through the forest. And then you got to kayak. And then you got to climb up abseiling up the side of a waterfall. And so we made it 7 days. And then one of our teammates got injured. So we had to quit. But basically, we made it about halfway in 7 days, and the team that won the whole race won it in 8 days. If that shows you,
Wow.
we were competing for last place.
Wow. So I'm sorry. So you had dropped out before all the other teams, or you were so close to the end where you
No,
were
we were
the person won in 8
teams
days?
drop out, all throughout the race, and we were
Wow.
in last place, and we dropped out at day 7. So there were teams behind us. Well, we were probably third to last place. There are teams behind us. There's lots of teams ahead of us, but only like 8 teams finished the race ever. It's
I
literally the hardest thing I've ever done, more so than Survivor, to be honest.
I wonder
Um,
why not bring that back. I'm so surprised it's been 20 years and there's no Eco Challenge reboot.
they brought it back a couple years ago with Bear Grylls as the host on
Oh,
Amazon.
okay.
And it was just a little bit of a lighter version of Eco Challenge. Like when Mark Burnett did it back then, it was hardcore. You're not sleeping for 10 days because the more you sleep, the more teams get ahead of you. You're packing all your own food, water, everything. So it's one of those kind of deprivation, suffering, athletic events that Mark Burnett just gets off on.
Yeah, he's trying to kill you guys. He's back in the day. He was doing what he could to kill
Back
you.
in the day, I mean, I doubt he
Yeah.
was involved in the evolution of Survivor, but Edge of Extinction tried to kill us too. I don't know if you watched that.
Sure. Listen, I want to talk all about it. You were there. You lived it. You were there. Which, you know what? While we're here, Edge of
While we're
Extinction,
here.
people are talking about, is there any potential that exists now on season 50? We'd have no way of knowing if it was, but you have these legends that are coming back, as yourself, folks who are maybe out earlier than we'd want them to as the audience. You get to keep them there for a little bit. Granted, it's 24 people in a 26 condensed game, but we don't know what they're going to do. I wonder if there's any hope for the Edge of Extinction making a return.
I hope so. I really do. I think the fault of Edge of Extinction was they really had the opportunity to make it just as exciting as the real game. There was really no incentive for me to like bust my ass to find fire tokens to like send to Tony, or Ben back in the game. Like, what does that get me? And in my mind, I knew everyone that was going to be coming to the Edge of Extinction were probably better than me at challenges. And therefore, winning a play-in challenge was slim to none. So my experience on the Edge of Extinction, renamed The End of Ethan, EOE, is basically just suffer and wait it out, right? And it wasn't that exciting for me. It wasn't a strategic game. I didn't feel like I actually got to play much of Survivor. Having said that, if like Edge of Extinction was part of a blood versus water game, right? And now I'm on the edge and my brother or my wife is on the main game, I'm going to bust my ass to do everything I can to win challenges on the edge to help them in the real game, right? So I think there needs to be a little bit more of a connection between like an edge or a redemption or an exile back into the main game. But they'd be stupid to get rid of all these players because they're legends in their own right, and I would want them to keep them around for as long as possible with these 90-minute episodes. Make it a little bit more exciting.
What is the Edge like in terms of like you are funny, Tyson's so funny. You have a couple are people less funny by the end of it, or are people still cracking jokes 2.5 weeks in? Like, is there still that morale there, or is everybody just done?
Yeah, there's a few jokes here and there, but they definitely wane as the days went on. We always said the days are long, the nights are longer, and Jeff Probst said like they wanted to, when you're down, they want to step on your throats and
Sure.
make it even worse for you, and when you're up, they want to elevate you in the game of Survivor. So his whole idea of the Edge of Extinction was he wanted to get people to quit. That's what he wanted to do. So he made it as horrible as possible for all of us. And that came down to we had to hike up to the top of the mountain to get like a handful of rice to bring back down to eat. And if we missed it with the tides, then we didn't eat that day, So like, just stupid stuff like that. The whole firewood thing was an issue. The log challenge was ridiculous. There's no shelter out there and it's freezing. So, normal Survivor conditions.
Sure.
However, I think plus it was, I was on the edge longer than people play to win the game.
No, Jenny. It's true.
I mean, what does that say about the game of Survivor, right?
Oh, today again, I'm on the All-Stars Wikipedia page, and you played 21 days in All-Stars, which is you're at the final 7, at the New Era.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
So tell me about you're moving towards going to Survivor All-Stars. Jenna. I've heard so much from Rob about the pregame of All-Stars and that he was in, I believe, Michael Bolton's father's house in Miami.
Yes.
I know nothing about the other tribes' experience. So what are you doing in the pregame with your tribe, with your group of 6? Where are you? What's the vibe? How you feeling?
Group of 6. So I show up to All-Stars. They segregate us into groups of 6. So you instantly knew, okay, there's probably going to be 3 tribes, which I don't know if they had done before. And I look around at my tribe and I see myself, I see Tina, I see Rudy, I see Jerry, and then I see Rupert. And Rupert was a big mystery because he had just played in Pearl Island. So no one knew who this last person was, and we hadn't seen the end of the show yet. So Rupert shows up and like, okay, we got this Rupert guy. In my mind, I'm looking at my tribe and I'm thinking, okay, like I have a pretty good shot. I got Tina, who I'm good friends with. She's a winner. We're definitely going to line. I got Jenna Lewis, who I thought I was friends with and I could potentially work with. That wasn't necessarily the case, as you saw it unfold. And Rupert, who's this new guy where I felt we could potentially target Rupert a little bit just because he was the nobody knew him. No one knew how he performed. We could kind of make up some story on how he did do, and we had to get him off early. So I felt confident, probably more confident than I should have going into the first season. Going into All-Stars.
It's interesting. There are 2 people now on season 50 that played season 49. Nobody knows how they did. And you've lived this experience where you're with this non-entity. But that person, like I did some number crunching for a good friend of mine who's on season 50. That person always does well. They make the final 8 and up every time. So it's you can use them to vote with, but like statistically, they're taking a spot from the final 8, at least, that could be yours, so the benefit is interesting. Was there any thought of you thinking Rupert had won, or could you tell from his vibe that he did not?
No, there was a thought that he may have won. I can't remember if he told us if he won or not, but it soon became apparent that he did not win.
Sure.
You look at the way Russell played, right? Russell got to play back-to-back. He played the exact same game 2 times in a row, and it worked 2 times in a row because no one had seen him play. He comes back to play with Rob. He's the first one out or second one out because he wasn't able to adapt his game to a new form of Survivor. And so he was voted out early. So I think the best players in Survivor are the ones that can adapt their game for whoever they're playing with in that particular situation. I mean, the whole goal of Survivor is how can you sell yourself and your ideas to the other people and get them to follow along. And so if people have seen you play a certain way, they're going to come in with certain impressions. So I think that's going to happen on this season 50 coming in, right? People are coming in with a lot of baggage, and it's going to be hard to break the baggage playing these new games.
Well, Jenna Lewis in particular, Jenna Lewis in episode 1 of All-Stars is shot out of a cannon, is ready to game, ready to get rid of you and Tina both, and I wonder how that will translate to season 50. Because, she's had now a 20 plus year break of playing Survivor. And she just did, Rob is releasing episodes of the podcast from back in the day featuring guests when they were on last. So Jenna Lewis was for the, I believe, premiere of Survivor Second Chance is talking about how she wants to go back so badly in 2015. Now it's 10 years later. So what do you think after having lived through the Jenna Lewis shot out of a cannon? What does that feel like? I know it didn't benefit, you obviously, but what is that drive that you're seeing from somebody that and you're friends with being like, oh, this isn't looking like it's great for me?
Yeah, I'll go back to what I said. I think she's gonna be able to suffer well. I think the environment's not going to be a factor on her. She can starve, she can not eat, she can not shower. All that stuff's going to be a non-factor for her. However, I do think the game is completely different than what she imagines it is, even watching it. Like I had that same experience when I went back to play on 40, and it was still pretty similar to kind of older school Survivor in the sense that it was 39 days. There's a lot of all that stuff, but the game moves incredibly fast. I think the strategy is a little more complicated. I mean, it is more complicated. So I do think she is going to potentially have a hard time with how fast the game goes and kind of the quick decision making that you need to do in this current new era of Survivor, and just all the little kind of things that happen. I know for a fact that she hasn't been keeping up with the show. She doesn't necessarily watch it. I'm sure she, studied and watched the seasons kind of coming into 50. However, I know she's not a super fan anymore. Not that that matters. So I think it could go either way for her, right? She could somehow kind of play the middle, claim that she's so old school, she doesn't know what's going on. She can do okay in the challenges. She's a social person. She's in real estate right now. She's crushing it, selling houses left and right. So I think there is a social game that she will be good at if she doesn't rub people the wrong way, which she has been known to do.
She has, she's very vocal about it too. Like you see the back half of All Stars too, where she is very much like that. Now, your relationship now with Jenna Lewis, you guys are geographically close to each other. No, she's up in the New Hampshire-ish area. Is that correct?
No, I think she grew up in Keene, New Hampshire, but she doesn't stay there anymore. She's out west. I don't know. She's in Tahoe or California.
Oh, beautiful.
Los
Okay.
Angeles somehow. Yeah.
What is that relationship now? Are you guys still in contact? Did you talk before she left to go do this? Is that a conversation that happened?
No, to be honest, I'm a little pissed at her too, because like I definitely, when her name and face started floating around on all these leaked casts, I instantly texted her like, "Oh, you're going to 50?" She's like, "No, I would never go. I can't play that game. I'm too old." So she's still, that's why I'm thinking like she's still stuck in the old school days when you can't pregame, you can't talk to anyone. So I just said back, I texted back like, "Well, if you are, good luck." And lots of people are talking about this. So, don't miss out is what I said. But she completely denied it about going out there. So we'll see what happens.
Tell me about, now when you're voted off pre-jury and you don't go right to the edge of extinction, you hang for a little bit until the jury gets there and then you go home. But your experience in Forever Allstars, you get voted out and you get to go with, Rob has called it on podcasts before, the fun group. Rob got with, Tina and Rudy, God rest his soul. They went and did hiking somewhere, but you and I believe Colby and Jerry, you guys did your own thing. Tell me about what was that like for you? What do you remember from that part of the experience?
It's well, the way in which I got voted out obviously didn't sit well with me. I had a Lex took me aside and kind of broke the news that I was going to be voted off that night. And in that moment, I feel like his strategy was like, listen, if Ethan, Lex, and Tom somehow make it to the merge, people are going to assume we're still in alliance, and it's going to screw up other people's games. Yeah, I see the value in that analysis. However, I was an easy target for anyone. I was the meat shield when meat shields didn't exist back in the day. And I just don't think it was a smart choice to align with Jerry in that moment. And then you clearly saw what happened the next, a vote or two later when Rob kind of blindsided Lex, the same way Lex blindsided me. And, there's a little bit of drama around that. So I think the smarter choice would have been to keep me there, vote off Jerry, and go to the merge with me, and then get me off at the merge.
Do you remember when you got voted out, who did you think was going to win? Did you have any indication of the winner of All Stars at the time of you leaving?
No, I had very little interaction with the tribe that Rob and Amber were on. I was in, I didn't even remember the names of my tribes. Is that crazy? So, I was the tribes merged. We went from 3 tribes to 2 tribes, and I was on the tribe with Lex and Colby and Richard Hatch, right? So when I was on that, I'm like, okay, good. Hatch is definitely going to go first before me. I think Colby is definitely a bigger threat than I am, and I'm closer friends with Lex, so Lex may keep me over Colby, and that's exactly what happened. But the strategy wasn't complex back then. It was still, let's get the winners off first. They can't get to the end of the game together. It was so simple. There was nothing really else going on. No one had any other ideas. And there didn't need to be other ideas back then. That was the strategy, is get the winners off first. And luckily, I kind of squeaked through a couple of things, I think, because I was good at challenges. And I guess, lasting the longest of all the winners, is that something to pat myself on the back about? I don't know, probably not, but I'll take it.
I'll take it. And now we're going into a situation for season 50 where there are 2 winners in a group of 24, which, the internet is doing what you did. It's just shaking your head. It does seem like we're being set up, or they're being set up rather, to just instantly go home. I run the Rob is a Podcast Instagram, and I put up a poll of who do you think is going to be the first out. Kyle doubled the votes of anybody else, the second person, because he won a week ago. He won a week before they left, which is so interesting. So do you think, if you're going to season 50, and obviously you are a winner, but put yourself in the mind of a non-winner.
By the way, I am going. I'm just late, just so you know.
You are late. Yeah. You showed me the ticket. I know you're going, you're on my flights, which is awesome. You're there as a non-winner. It makes sense, right? The first boot it's an easy one.
The first boot, no one wants to be the first boot. So you're just looking for any reason to find someone to be the first boot. And actually, the one advice I did text to Jenna Lewis, and because we have a good relationship, is I'm like, keep your mouth shut. Like, that is all you need to do. Because if you keep your mouth shut long enough, 1, they won't hear you talking, and 2, someone else will say it, and then they're going to be the person that's going to be targeted. So early on, keep your mouth shut, because she likes to talk. She's got a big mouth. She's like sarcastic, and I'm like, not everyone gets sarcasm. Not everyone understands that sense of humor, playfully negative type stuff. So I'm like, keep your mouth shut. So yeah, I agree. I would. Well, 1, not only did they invite Kyle back, they invited his 2 closest alliance members back too. Like, what are you thinking? So instantly, you got to split those 3 up, and Kyle would be the easiest vote. On the other hand, do you keep the winners around to mid game, and right, because they're always that vote. You can always get them off. I do feel like, whether it's as big of a deal as the first All-Stars in terms of having just a few winners as it is now, I don't think it's as big a deal, because there are just so many different ways to win the game and play the game. The title of winner, I don't think, has as much weight now as it did back then, but I still think it's a focal point, and it's an easy way to rally people around a vote.
For sure. And I'm very curious to see what happens, because at least, with the 3, you have the 3 people from 48, you would assume they're going to be on separate tribes. But if you get one tribe that has 2 of them, out of 3 tribes, that just seems easy,
Right. And on All-Stars,
so
All-Stars, they put 2 winners on one tribe, 2 winners on another tribe, and then no winners on the 3rd tribe. And so right. Why would you even do that? Like, have 6 winners or 3 winners, it was a really weird casting choice for them.
I see a lot of people on Twitter, online, trying to rationalize the tribe divisions of like, oh, this person can't be with this person or whatever. Like, yeah, they can't. Like, they'll do whatever they want. They're not doing the math that you and I are doing.
And they know exactly what they're doing. Casting is incredible, right? They know exactly who's going to mesh, who's not going to mesh. Back behind the scenes, they're making the perfect Survivor puzzle of casting, right? You can see you got the Colby, and you got Jonathan. You got, Jonathan's the new Colby, right? You got, Ozzy, and, I don't know who the other challenge piece would have been. Well, Jonathan, I guess. But maybe they're trying these old school, new school, refresher version of the character archetypes,
For sure.
Yeah. Dee and Stephanie, and,
that's the one that I'm most excited to see, because I feel about Dee. Dee very much gives old era Survivor. Like, Dee is a Stephanie, as where there are
Kyle's an old school player too. Joe, Kyle, Stephanie, are all kind of old school style players.
Who do you think, Jenna Lewis, in terms of meshing with these new era folks, is there anybody that you think she immediately gets along with, or anybody that immediately she is out on? I'm very interested in the Jenna Lewis and Q relationship. I think that's interesting. I can't see it going great, but let me hear your thoughts on if anybody jumps out as like a good friend or ally to Jenna Lewis.
I feel like she's going to try to gravitate towards like, Colby and Stephanie and Coach just because they're old school and it just feels natural. I don't think that's the right move for her. I think she's got to play nice to them, but I think she needs someone in the new era. And, the good thing is no one's going to really remember her or remember how she played, I think. And that was what I was hoping would happen to me when I went into season 40, that it's just been so long. Everyone just knows I'm like the cancer guy, the nice cancer guy, right? So like I was hoping to somehow use that to my advantage. Clearly, didn't work.
Who else were you hoping for in season 40? What other winners were you hoping were there that weren't? Was there anybody that you expected to maybe see there that didn't end up there?
I mean, I would have liked to see Hatch and Tina only because I'm friends with them, and that would have just been a better scenario for me to align with from the winners. You know, I wasn't I hadn't talked to Rob and Amber for 20 years. I had maybe met Jeremy at a Boston event. No one else I really knew. Danny,
Yeah.
way back in the day. Like no one was there that I felt I could really attach to. Parvati, obviously, and I miscalculated. Listen, I align with Parvati and Rob, thinking that they're clearly the more powerful players, franchise legends. They're going to go first. Obviously, they made the smartest move in the history of season 40 to split up Rob and Parvati and vote off Ethan. And that was a miscalculation on my part.
Such a bummer of an episode too. It's like you're just hearing about COVID. You're like, it's not going to get us, and then you get this gut punch, and then a week later, the world is over. Just it didn't set us up for success. If that's different, maybe the whole world is different.
It did it.
Tell me about your relationship with Colby. You and Colby are still tight in 2025, or you have been tight the whole time? Tell me about.
No, I wouldn't say we're tight. We're acquaintances. Yeah. If I happen to be traveling through Austin, Texas, I'd give him a call. We go out and grab a meal. He's good friends with Burton Roberts, who's a really good friend of mine. So we could stay connected through that. But, once again, I'm going back in the day. We all did hang out. We were all friends. And a funny story, side story, I don't know if it's been told before, but there was a time when the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation had a partnership with Survivor. And so Jeff Probst was a huge fan, excuse me, of Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric Foundation. Actually, in Survivor Africa, we delivered HIV testing kits to a little hospital in the village of Wamba. That was through Elizabeth Glaser. That was like a product. That was like a charity product placement, never been done before in the history of the show, which is pretty cool. So after the show, we got invited to all these really cool, fun events that the Glaser Foundation was doing. One of those events was the Celebrity Dodgeball Tournament. So so it was me, Colby, Jenna Lewis, Jeff Probst, and Lex Vandenberg went to Los Angeles to compete in a celebrity dodgeball tournament against other actors and actresses and musicians. And we were kind of like, we were real people. Everyone else is these like major celebrities. And so it finally got to the final against. It was Survivor versus Friends. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better matchup. It was like primetime competition. Both were on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And here we got Survivor versus Friends. We had Matthew Perry was there. We had Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox. In the final scene, it's on video. You can find it. Is that we were crushing them. I did the classic move where I threw a ball up. Matthew Perry starts looking at the ball, and then we all just throw the ball at his face, and he falls over backwards, and we win the whole freaking thing. And that was like one of the greatest, never before told Survivor stories ever. Lex got in a fight with Brendan Fraser. Remember Brendan Fraser? Because Brendan was a complete asshole, totally overcompensating, uber competitive in a moment when he shouldn't have been. It's like for the kids, it's for HIV and AIDS. And he was just such a dick. And Lex just went after it. It was really funny. But we were awesome. We won the whole thing and it was such a fun night. But anyway, so there were things going on. Yeah.
The dodgeball, the movie. You've seen the movie. Are you doing qualifying rounds? Like, do you have to beat, Baywatch before you get to eventually graduate Friends?
Yeah, so we beat NSYNC. We beat NSYNC, which is really fun. I can't remember but I remember we beat Brendan Fraser's team, we beat NSYNC's team, and then we beat Friends' team. I don't know if there was another game in between there, but yeah, we were crushing everyone. because we were like athletes and real people and like normal humans that didn't care if we got our hair messed up or we fell down or we got cut or anything like that. And Probst is a former baseball player. He's got an arm on him. I don't know if you know that, but he can whip a ball.
You know, hanging out with Probst is something that the new era folks really don't get to experience at all. You know, what is that like back in the day? You know, you're doing stuff like that. I'm sure there's more stuff like this. What is the Probst? What's he like? You know, tell me about him. I met him for a couple days.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. I mean, back then, I didn't have as much interaction with him coming back to 40, and I understand as the show grew in popularity and the number of contestants came off, and some of his dating history. Like, you got to create a boundary between the players and him as a host, because now he's involved in casting and challenge design and executive producing. So, like, I think there's a more weight on his shoulders, and there could get some blurry lines there if he starts hanging out with too many of us, especially when you have these returning seasons. But yeah, he was totally cool. He's incredibly supportive of the work that I do at Grassroots Soccer. He showed up at events. He's donated money. We used to have a reality all-star soccer tournaments where we had, Survivor, Amazing Race, Big Brother, The Apprentice, all coming together to play in a soccer match for Grassroots Soccer. We had a bunch of those. Probst would show up with Julie Berry, and that's for that time of era. So it was super fun, and it was really fun to hang out with. And yeah, he's a nice guy. When I went through my cancer stuff, he was right there, kind of sending me notes all the time. Same with Mark Bernett, came visit me at my apartment in the hospital. So incredibly supportive of me and some of the stuff that I'd been doing over the years.
Yeah, it's a really, once you're in the family, it's a good family to be in.
It was funny during 40. There was the second challenge during 40, and Mark Burnett shows up to Fiji, and apparently he hadn't been there in many, many years. According to Boston Rob, Burnett didn't even know there was like a season 40 all winners version, and then they told him a couple weeks before, and he's like, "Oh shit, I should get out there and see what's going on." But it was interesting because when he came out to visit, there, the legend of Mark Burnett exists. Like the super fans on my season, like Adam Klein, literally started to cry because he met Mark Burnett. Yeah. And meanwhile, like Rob and I were like, "Hey, what's up, Burnett? How's it going?" I did the Eco Challenge, Apprentice. I did Survivor a couple times. Like, I know Burnett. We hung out. We go to dinner together. Not anymore, back then. So it was funny moment to that kind of showed me that, like, where the show is, where it was and where it is, and kind of where it's going. Like, Burnett's not even involved anymore.
No, not at all. That's very Adam Klein crying at the sight.
Literally, he was crying. He was crying. I mean, he cried about everything, but that's Adam Klein. I wasn't much better on season 40, so like, I'm making fun of myself. I think I cried a couple times too. So
it's something in the air over there. Everybody's crying. It's the
right. You too. You almost had to cry.
I almost, brother. I was crying from minute one. I had a quick.
What would you do if you met Mark Burnett? Would you be? Is that a thing for you?
I'm playing it cool with you, Ethan Zohn. I'd be crying. I'm crying at the thought of it. I'm crying now. Listen, Mark Burnett he created so many of the projects that I just have made me have given me all of this stuff. It's super cool. Let me, while you mentioned it, you showed up at the Apprentice, the first task. Is that right? You donated to when Hatch was on. Was that right?
So Richard Hatch was chosen to be a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice. Donald Trump is the host and whatever. And he every celebrity has to play for a charity. So Richard Hatch chose Grassroots Soccer as his charity to play for. Yeah. And so on Richard Hatch's challenge day against Meatloaf, they had to sell pizza. So like, I rallied everyone I knew in New York City that were fans of me and Grassroots Soccer to show up and buy a freaking $1,000 slice of pizza from Hatch to try to, win the challenge. Unfortunately, they didn't win the challenge. And the rules of the game is that all the money raised goes to the winning contestant. So like, even if I got like $50,000 raised from Grassroots Soccer donors, Hatch lost, and that went to Meatloaf. And so he, his charity gets double the amount basically, which is kind of a lame rule back in the day. But anyway, that's what happened, and Hatch got voted off. So I didn't get to spend too much more time on Celebrity Apprentice. But
wow, yeah. You've done it all, my friend. You're everywhere. You're doing it all.
Back in the day, like, there weren't many of us. So like, when you got invited to do something, you said yes. you know, like, and
Yeah.
so I did everything because it was fun, like Fear Factor and Eco Challenge and Kill Reality, Celebrity Paranormal Project, Amazing Race, Survivor, whatever it was, I would do it.
Was your fear factor celebrity, or were you with all Survivor folks?
It was celebrity. It was me, Jenna Maraska, Ryan Sutter from Bachelorette. Trista showed up, but she wasn't competing. Omarosa from Celebrity Apprentice. Nikki McKibben from American Idol. And Riken something from Amazing Race. A really good looking tall gay dude. I think he
Did
won. I think
you?
they won.
Oh, you didn't. They won the Amazing Race. Did you win Fear Factor? Who won Fear
I
Factor?
lost to Ryan Sutter by 3 seconds in a car challenge. It was so upsetting.
In a car challenge. That looks
But I
fun.
won that.
People
I
like.
won the gross food challenge, which was pretty cool.
What was the food? Do you remember what the food was?
Oh, I remember. It was
Tell me.
basically a bunch of worms, basically a buffet of worms. We had to like
Worms.
transfer worms from one area to the next with our mouth. We had to blend them up. We had to drink it. Then we had to dig through like a dumpster full of mud to get
Yeah.
the rest of our prize out.
You got to do it when you get the opportunity. You got it. You got to do it. You know, why not? Tell me.
Yeah, and I
Ethan,
think
if
there aren't as many opportunities for like reality. Like now, there's a little revival, so it's exciting. You're seeing the challenge and traders and Deal or No Deal and like all these Peacock and Paramount formats, which I think is awesome. But there aren't as many opportunities for someone graduating from a reality show these days.
do you see any of these things that are popping up now, your traders, your Deal or No Deal Island? Do you see an opportunity where you would want to participate in such a thing?
Of course, I'm still like, hey, I'm 51 years old. Like, yeah, whatever. I'll do whatever you want. It sounds fun. It's all about having a life experience for me. And some of these shows, like I never competed in a reality competition show where suffering wasn't the primary like object of the game. Like
Sure.
I can beat anyone at suffering, so like put me in a show where I get to sleep in a hotel and have 3 meals a day. And like then you can see what I can do out there, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
Survivor's not necessarily the right game for me anymore. Just although 26 days, I think pretty much anyone can do it. It's pretty much a joke, but I think, yeah, that's what I think.
well, listen, was there any thought before season 50? Like, I know calls went out at whatever time. Did you think there was a chance that you were getting back out there for 50?
No, I didn't. I had fun teasing that I was, socially, that was really fun for me. But I think it gets back to Jeff and his idea for how and where he wants the show to go. He is all about storytelling. He's all about, contestants having a transformational experience in the context of Survivor that's going to help them overcome something to make the rest of their life better. It's just as much that type of show as it is a competition, strategy, social. So I think that's a huge part of it. And I think in the eyes of Survivor that my story is complete on Survivor. Would I have played again if they called and asked me? 100%. But in terms of the storytelling, I look at all the contestants that are out there now and I'm trying to think, okay, why did Jeff ask them back? And it's because there might be some unsettled business. He wants to see them play. Maybe he thinks there's another chapter. How many more times can Sri play? I don't know. I mean, been there, done that. She's just coming off Australia Survivor. How many times can Stephanie play? Traders, Snake in the Grass, Survivor a couple times. Like, really?
Well, that's the thing that Stephanie in particular is interesting to me, because I feel like without the traders and without Snake in the Grass, it's such a more exciting pick. I had a friend that I went to high school with in college, our first year of college. He posted that he went home after like 4 weeks to like surprise his grandmother for like her birthday. But I was like, hey, she just saw you. She saw you 4 weeks ago. Like, I feel like I just saw Stephanie the other day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I so want to be excited about Stephanie, but it's like, hey, we just did this,
And
and with a couple of those folks, I feel
let's
similar.
not forget, she didn't necessarily grasp. I think the strategy went a little bit fast overhead. Like she totally got swindled by Suri on Snake in the Grass, and then same on Traders. Like she had no idea what was going on. So I think the strategy on Survivor, it's going to be eye opening for her She'll be good in challenges. She's strong. She's sociable. Funny story is that I went to, I'm sure the people listening, there's this, it used to be called Hearts of Reality. Now it's called Over the Edge. It's in Florida every year in Kissimmee. Fun event, charity event. Mess load of Survivor reality TV people show up. But I've been a couple times. I usually only go when Boston Rob goes. But some surprising faces showed up this past season. Jerry showed up. Ozzy showed up. Stephanie showed up. Who else is there? Boston Rob was there. I was there. So, and it's all starting to make sense now. Where like, oh, of course you're going to show up. People, this is like 9 months. This is over the winter, December. So people are showing up, trying to get some FaceTime. Ask questions, see who else is going, find information. The second Probst called everyone. The game, season 50 started. Right? It's been going on for 9 months. I've had multiple people from multiple different seasons call me asking me like, do you know about this person or that person or this person? So it's been an interesting and fun kind of 6 months for me as well, just to be able to kind of help or not help some folks that come my way.
I do wonder for them, like those are the people that I grew up with, right? Like the new era people, to anybody who played in the new era, like it just feels like people we went to high school with. Like it feels like we're all the same kind of cohort. But seeing the folks from however long ago is so fun for us. But I just don't know how it's gonna go for that. Like I don't feel great. And people didn't necessarily, everybody was, very much on the record that the winners of war, the people that everybody was so excited for, kind of were out earlier than we wanted, and then we get kind of backloaded with the folks that we just saw a year or two before. Whereas I have a feeling that we might be in for that again, which I don't think is what everybody wants.
No, I mean, I don't know how the seasons break out, but I feel like it's old school, new school versus new era. That's how
sure.
I think it might shape up. Just looking at the season number and the number of players from those seasons, right? You got at least 10 from season 40 plus, and then you have about 10 from season 40 below. So I think that I think that's how it's going to shake out at first. And then someone's going to have to cross lines, the interesting thing is he did choose a lot of old school, new era players. And we'll go to Jonathan as a new school, Kyle, D a little bit, Joe. I don't know any of the others that they chose, but I think they're all those are kind of like, they got the old school vibe, right?
For sure. And I'm very curious to see, and you said it in this podcast, like the 26 days, feels like a cakewalk to anybody who did the 39, but this is the first time that Jeff is now allowing people who have played that 39 and people who have made it to 39, some a couple times, to go play this 26. So
you're right.
Somebody's going to come back and be like, it is as hard as the 39 one. Like there will be somebody.
I know this is you're so right. This is the first time a 39 dayer is going to play a 26. So we'll finally have some real honesty on which is harder. Interesting.
And somebody's going to break. It's like there's maybe a pact to say that the 39 was harder, but somebody won't do it. And Eliza will hear it. It'll be upset. Everybody will be upset. But I wonder who that'll be. Because it's going to be, I hope at least one of these older folks. But
then again, it's also they're also 20 years older than when they played 39 days, right? So no matter how many days, if I was out there for 7 days, I'm still going to think it's harder than when I was 27 playing a 39-day game.
Well, so let me ask you about Colby's, because the critique about Colby is that when he was back for Heroes versus Villains, which I'm not sure, again, this was during your health challenge, so I'm not sure how much you remember.
No, I watched it from the hospital room, literally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Colby in that season, like the critique was that he just seemed like tired, and not physically tired, but just he wasn't as in it as this, I think James had said it, who's the Superman in a fat suit or whatever, he felt weighed down. What is it about season 50, do you think, that made Colby want to get out there again?
I've known Colby since All-Stars, or even before. I met him the night he rode in on the back of a motorcycle with Rosie O'Donnell for the Marquesas finale, which I think that was when it happened. It was weird. He is a different guy. Like from knowing him, Survivor does something interesting to you. Like it makes you aware. Like back in the day, it was mega, right? You're talking 27, 30 million viewers a week, right? And so that kind of has an impact on you as a human, just out in the everyday world. Colby was into, he wanted to be an actor. He's living out in LA. He was hosting television shows. He was like the shit. He was it. And then I think, things changed for him. He moved back home. He got back to his normal life. And I think he just found himself again. And from my experience hanging out with Colby is that I think he's more self-aware. He's evolved more as a human being. I think he's been married. He's, taking care of kids. He's been through some health stuff. So like, I just think he has a better perspective of who he is. So I think he's taking this into the new game of Survivor to test himself. Like, I don't think he doesn't want to be famous. He doesn't care about, maybe he cares about the money after everyone does. But I think it's an internal personal thing. And, I know he used to be best friends with Probst, and they've lost touch. And, I think it's kind of, he's a franchise player. He always have been. He always will be. And so I think it's wonderful to have Colby back, whether he does well or gets voted off first. But I agree. Heroes versus villains, I don't think it was his best day. I think he was a little bit jaded. I don't necessarily know if he really wanted to play. Probably just felt he had to because he got asked back. He had other shit going on in his life. He just wasn't in it mentally. He just wasn't there. And just kind of just aware of the world and the cameras and all that stuff.
And you've spoken about watching here. I now I'm remembering you've spoken about watching Heroes versus Villains as you were in the hospital room there. Was that anything like seeing, those folks and them playing? Was that inspiration for you to want to play again? Seeing that maybe like how much you'd give to be in it. Was that a driving force in that moment?
That was like, I mean, I said it on my opening line of 40. One, it was a miracle that I was alive to be able to play Survivor again, but I was stuck in my stem cell transplant room watching Survivor. I was there for over a month, so I watched 5 episodes in a hospital room, watching my buddies out there play this game that I love and that I want to be on. So yeah, it's like I said, like if I get out of this place alive, I'm gonna get myself healthy enough to go play Survivor again. And when I say healthy enough, it's not even just physically, like, mentally you need to be in a space where you could go play Survivor. I actually got the call to go play Blood versus Water in 2016. So I
Oh,
don't know which one that was. Too soon. I almost said yes, but the issue was I would have returned the night of my rehearsal dinner for my wedding. I mean, God bless my wife, Lisa. She's like, go do it. You need to do this. Have fun. I was going to go with my brother. But in the long run, I knew if I came back, if the flight got missed, I'd miss the wedding, right? That would have been bad.
yeah,
And
not
so
ideal.
we made the choice to not to say no to that season. And I think that was the season Tyson and Tyson won.
Wow.
But anyway,
I saw some people hypothesizing that this, everybody built up season 50 as like the Legends. And maybe the Legends is like a year or two from now. Maybe we do the Legends, you think that if Probst is going to sign off, if he's going to do his final goodbye, he's going to want the Legends. And maybe in a year or two, we all built it up as that's what this is. And maybe it's not.
it's a blindside legend game, right? Like let's blindside the fans. But yeah, when Probst retires, if I were him, I would say I'm going to pick the 20 most favorite people that I've hosted on this show. Whether you're a winner or a loser, he knows everyone because he's involved in casting. I think it'll be fun for him to literally, it's Jeff's picks. That's it. I mean, pretty much it's that way anyway. But I think,
It's Jeff's
I
picks,
think
but really Jeff's picks.
more, more creatively explain to us that these are the favorite people he's seen play and he's hosted on the show. Let's bring him back for one last time, and then he's out. I heard 55 is the last one, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm unsure, but listen, we're gonna do great on that season. I'm excited. You, me, Boston Rob. We're gonna have a great situation.
But I think Colby it's interesting with what Colby's happening with Colby. I think the impression of Colby, no matter how he played on Heroes and Villains, is one that he is dominant, challenge beast. So I think that's going to hurt him because I just think the perceived Colby is just one of success, right? And you got to get him out early. He came in fourth on Heroes Villains, came in second on his first one. I don't know, fifth at the All Stars. So I think he's going to have a little bit of an uphill battle unless he can find early alliances early on, which he probably will. Old school people they're gonna gravitate to each other. I can't see how Coach and Colby and I don't know, maybe Jenna Lewis, maybe Serene and Stephanie all don't link up if and when they're on the same tribes together.
Yeah, that's my Colby thought was I know Colby hasn't watched. I'm surprised to know that Jenna Lewis hasn't been keeping up as much, but I know Colby's meeting all these people he thinks they've never played before. I would imagine, he's meeting people for the first time.
Yeah.
Ethan, give me your winner pick. Do you have a winner pick for Survivor 50?
I think my winner pick, like I'm on along the same lines as you, is that I think a nobody, someone who like people don't even think should be there, and maybe someone from 49 that people don't have a tap on. But I don't think another winner is going to win again. I do think it's going to be someone who's been out of the loop for quite a long time. Maybe it's like a Chrissy, or maybe it's but there are some really great characters. I don't have the list in front of me, but Charlie was really exciting. All the Jeff Probst co-hosts are on the show, right?
They are.
Got
3 out of the 4.
Charlie, D, and here we go. Thank you.
Yeah,
Devins, right? Everyone's excited
Yeah.
to see Devins. Oh, Christian. I think Christian is an interesting guy. I think he could do well out there, Christian. And I think Mike White. If Mike White's smart and he leverages his TV show, hey, don't vote me off because I'll put you in my show, right? I would do that. I would, if I was out there, I would align with Mike White just because I want to be his best friends because he's so cool, right? So looking at these picks, Kyle, no chance. I think, Genevieve, no. So I think like a Christian, a Chrissy, maybe a Coach. I would love to see a Coach if he can kind of not be too crazy.
Do you know Coach? Have you met
I do know
Coach a bunch?
Yeah. I like Coach a lot. I'm kind of just naming the people I want to go far. It doesn't even really even mean who I think is going to win. But like Aubrey, like where the hell has Aubrey been? She's played twice. Kind of not anything special either time. And who's that? Oh, Angelina. Yeah, just like I don't know. I think someone who people don't necessarily remember much or remember how they played is going to do the best on this season.
Well, people are pointing to describing how you just described Tiffany, who was on season 46. Oh. She was with Q. She was with Charlie. She was like the 5th most, maybe impactful character of that season, but she's very game savvy. And in a group that everybody has these egos and wants to get out who they deem the best player. I mean, Tiffany's going to 6th and above, I think. Right. Like what's the reason to get Tiffany out at that point? But I'm excited to see it.
Unless Charlie and Q, which, yeah. I mean, it's going to be really exciting. I'm super, super pumped for season 50. I can't wait.
Well, tell me, Ethan, we talked a little bit about an event that you have coming up at the end of July, a soccer event in San Diego. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, sure. Well, it is a division of Rob has a podcast. So Rob has a podcast. San Diego has a really strong fan group. So I'm working with a guy by the name of Nathan and RHAP SD and Grassroots Soccer, my charity. And we're going to be having a series of events in San Diego. So July 31st, we're going to have like a Big Brother watch party. So with food and drinks and games. And then on August 1st, we're having a Survivor tailgate in the parking lot of the San Diego FC MLS soccer team. And then we'll head to the stadium and we'll watch the game in the stadium. There's going to be an on-field moment for me and a bunch of the other Survivor alums that are going to come. And it's just going to be a really fun event because Grassroots Soccer, we partner with San Diego FC, which is this MLS soccer team, to run soccer camps that have mental health curriculum attached to it. And then at the end of the camp, we're bringing all the kids to the San Diego game that night. So we thought we'd make it a little bit more special and make it like a Survivor night. So inviting some of my Survivor friends from up in LA and the San Diego area, and plus all the Survivor fans from RHAP and Big Brother fans. And so it's just going to be a big, fun, special evening at San Diego FC.
We are going to post about it on the Rob as a Podcast channels when we air this podcast, as well as leading up to the event. We want everybody to come on out. San Diego, I believe, is the best city in the U.S. There's no better city than San Diego.
I haven't been
Beautiful
there
in
a
San
while,
Diego.
but I had so much fun there. Yeah. So like, if you're interested, you can DM me. You can DM the Instagram account is RHAP Local San Diego, RHAP Local San Diego. That's on Instagram, and you can DM us there if you're interested. We'll have more information coming out in the next couple weeks.
Ethan, this was so much fun. This
So
is the
much
first
fun.
time we're doing this. A peek behind the curtain. This was the first interview of this podcast, and I'm so thrilled.
It's only downhill from here, my friend. I don't know how you can repeat this interview. Who's next? Who are you talking to next? Let's tee him up.
Somebody that you've spent quite a bit of time with in the past, Roger Bingham, is going to talk to me about Colby Donaldson.
Wow. All right. Roger Bingham.
You know,
Nice.
we got
Excellent.
Roger. Roger's coming out, doesn't do a ton of these, interview situations. So we'll talk to him, hear about, he still watches loyally. He's a loyal every week Survivor watcher. So I'll get his takes on Q and all that.
Wasn't able to get the legends back, but you are. You got the legends. So you're talking to all the legends that didn't make it to 50.
I'm building my own cast, a cast that I think is better. I think maybe.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, once you're done with all these, you can put up your cast versus the 50s cast and see how we do.
I don't think it'll be close, my friend. But Ethan, this has been so much fun. Stay tuned till tomorrow. You'll see an episode with Roger Bingham and I talking about Colby Donaldson. Ethan, have anything else to plug? Anything?
No, I mean, nothing. Yeah, things are good. I'm excited for the show. If you're interested in getting some old school Survivor merch, you can still hit up my website. We got some cool Fiji jerseys, old school jerseys, new school jerseys. We have a line of new stuff coming out for season 50, so stay tuned for that. And that's about it.
Go buy a t-shirt. Have a great time, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow. I've never signed off a podcast before. This is our first time. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.